Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar on strategic negotiation and influencing skills to build better relationship and start losing deals forever. I'd like to start this session with two sweet little words in English. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for taking your time. Thank you so much for the opportunity to share my thoughts on this subject. As we all are faced with the challenge of the COVID-19, and I only request everybody across the world who have joined in this for webinar to stay home and stay safe. This session is going to be very interactive. We'll have some question and answer session, a couple of polls we'll do, and also I would request you to give the feedback at the end of the day. But before that, am I audible to all of you? Can you put in your chat box and say yes to that? Oh, yes, there are a lot of people who are able to hear. Okay, let's get started. Welcome again to all of those people who have joined a little late for this session. As a bonus, I'm going to give you a copy of the complete presentation and the preparation checklist for the successful negotiation. This checklist will completely change the way you get into the negotiation and helps ensure you create a win-win situation. All that you have to do to get this bonus is to please stick around until the very end, and I will tell you how you can get your own copy of the presentation. Wonderful, let's get started on this. My promise for this session is, in just over next 1 hour, I'm going to reveal you the process for successful negotiation and influence. This is the very same process we train corporates across the 20 different industries. I will also share a few secrets with you, plus some very surprising strategies you need to know and implement in your work areas. Just to give you a brief introduction about who we are and what we do, we at Krantz Aspire as an organization where we started with an objective of helping their sales team to meet their growth aspirations. We train coach sales teams for the B2B and B2C companies from startup to MNCs. We find things that they have missed in the sales effectiveness and efficiency, and we give the tools, frameworks, and train and coach and implement them. And we have seen that with our support, clients have seen 2x improvement within the 45 to 90 days of the engagement on that. Why this training is important to you? We have trained about thousands of people, increase their sales success and build better relationship using this very strategic negotiation and influencing skills. This is a proven, implementable skills for increasing your success in sales, building wonderful relationship with your clients, and winning the clients for you. Now, what's that you're going to learn in this webinar? There are 5 things that I want you to learn on this. One is that why becoming a good at negotiation is key to success. You'll also learn what is that top performers do differently in negotiation. Is there something different that these top performers do? Okay, and what is that you can get out of that? You'll also see a framework to become a good negotiator. Along with the framework, I'm going to give you 5 secrets to negotiate better. Also, I'm going to give you what is that one must never do during the price discussions. This is because we see negotiation as a large subject, but a lot of people from the sales have joined. That's why I wanted to give you what is that one must never do during the price discussion on that. Now let's start with the first one, why becoming good at negotiation is a key to success. There are 3 reasons that you want to learn to negotiation skills. One is those with the negotiation skill will regularly conclude the better deals than those who are not accomplished or less accomplished. That means if you are trained in negotiation skills, you will regularly conclude a better deals than those who are not trained on that. And we always say, whatever it is there, the first offer that the client proposes is not the best offer. It could be the client, it could be the other person. For example, if you get a job opportunity and they give you an offer letter to you, and you look at the compensation, and that's not the best, there is always room for you to negotiate on that. And I'll tell you, once you become a good negotiator, once you're able to influence your people, you will gain a lot of respect and increase your confidence in doing the further negotiation and handling conflicting situations there. And we'll take a small poll and see, in spite of all these things, how many of you have gone through professional negotiation skills program? Take a couple of minutes and see, just put your poll on that, and then we'll be able to see. Okay, that's a good one. There are about 20% of the people who have attended this, but according to our research, we find that more than 5 to 10% is good enough in any of these. If that's the case, why there is a three misconceptions about the negotiation? Why people don't want to get into the negotiation? Learn that skill, learn that process. Is basically they think that the negotiation is manipulation. It's like doing some tricks. It's like doing some, what do you call it, as communication to people and trying to do something out of that. It is to change the way they're speaking to another way and manipulate things and get things done. No, that can be done once, but that cannot be done regularly on that. There is a misconception is negotiation is all about bargaining and tactic. It's about trading certain things is negotiation. No, negotiation is a much more bigger subject. Bargaining is only one part of the negotiation. Using tactics to unsettle the other person is a part of the negotiation, but it's not the entire negotiation. And there is a lot of misconception among the salespeople that the sales and negotiation is the same as it is. And that's why I would say, if you look at selling, selling is, there are various definitions, but selling is primarily about satisfying the customer's need, and usually on a competitive basis against the other supplier in exchange for money. But where on the other hand, negotiation is concerned with the resolving of the conflict between two or more parties, usually by the exchange of the concessions of that. And that's why it is important to understand selling is different and negotiation is different. Negotiation is more to do with coming to common agreement by resolving conflict. And then, what does that top performer do differently in negotiation if that is the case? Is there something that they do differently so that they get much better rewards, much better uh, closing, which they are able to do, much better relationship that they do? We have found out based on most of the interactions that we have had, and we have seen fantastic negotiator. We have studied many things. What we find is that those good negotiators have three things that they differ. One is they focus on winning at any cost to winning at a cost. What does it mean? They don't go to the negotiation table saying that whatever it is there, I will give everything and I will win over this. No, that's not the attitude. I think they fix up what they want and then try and go and get the influencing done. And that's why I would say winning at a cost is what they'll do. Those who are professional, those who are actually good in negotiation, they don't stop learning. They focus on developing their competence. That's about the knowledge, skills, and attitude to handle the negotiation and influencing of that. They develop this competency to see that the future negotiations becomes much better. They actually reflect on it. They do deliberate practice to see that they become much better at the next negotiation. And the third thing all of these people do differently, what we have seen is They know how exactly how to build a relationship and always end with the better outcomes. They focus on not just winning, but building a strong relationship and always end with the better outcomes on that. Now, that's what the three differentiators that they do. So, one is that they develop competency, they want to build up relationship, and of course, they want to focus on winning at a cost and not winning at any cost. Now, what's the framework? What is the idea? What is the whole thing that makes a good negotiator? The framework for becoming a good negotiator are three things. There are three elements in this. The first one is the power. Now, what do you mean by this power? If you have a power to negotiate, then you would be able to get that power. But then, power, how do you get this power? Is by basically, there are three ways to develop power. The first one is a strong partner. What's this partner? Partner is basically a short form of best alternative to negotiated agreement on this. Now, what do we mean by this? If you want to go to the negotiation table, before you go to the negotiation, always develop what is the alternative that you have in case if the negotiation does not get through. The problem with many people is that they develop the worst acceptable outcome. For example, if you're a buyer, how much is the highest that you can pay for buying of that particular product is what you do as a worst acceptable outcome. If you're a seller, how much is the lowest that you can come down to get that, make the other person purchase? But these two working on a best outcome, worst acceptable outcome is not the nice way, because that means that you don't have any other option if you lose it. But I'll give you one more example to you. For example, if you're going for a job offer and somebody gives you an offer, imagine if you want to negotiate, you cannot say that this is what I want to get, this is what I won't get. But imagine if you have two other offers along with you. What is the power that you will have when you go to the negotiation table? But that's why I always say it is important to develop the what is the alternate that you have when you go to the negotiation there. And then the second one is the role power. What we talk about role power is that who is the person who is on the other side who is there for the negotiation? What is his power? Is he a decision maker? Is he a technical head? Is he a purchase manager? What kind of the power he has got? What is that he can influence is one thing that you can be aware, so that you can develop your own power to go to the negotiation. You can be much prepared to develop that power. Or if you want, you can go with your team to exercise the power that you have, that kind of a power to negotiate. In fact, there are a lot of people who might say, I want to talk to your boss. Then you should be able to establish that credibility, establish that power to people and say, all the negotiation that we have discussed is discussed thoroughly in our organization. My boss has authorized me to take this power, take this discussion forward. And I also say at some point of time, you should develop the psychological power within you, that you should feel that power within you that you can be able to negotiate. And that can only happen when you prepare well, when you develop certain skills on that. And that's why I would say the first secret for all of you is that the power in negotiation is about capacity to influence the other side. The perception of the power that you create is more important than the actual power that you have. And that's why one of the greatest authors in negotiation, Herb Cohen, said, power is a mind-blowing entity. If you think you have it, you have it. If you don't think you have it, even if you have it, you don't have it. And that's why it's important to feel that power when you go to the negotiation, that I'll be able to succeed in this. I'll be able to pass through this. I'll be able to manage. I'll be able to win over this discussion. And I'll be able to go for a win-win situation on that. Now, the second one, which is important in any negotiation, is about the aspiration. What is the meaning of aspiration? Aspiration is one of the power, but the aspiration is whenever you go to the negotiation, always aim for higher aspiration level. In other words, I would say set your aspiration very high. Supposing if you're quoted at 20 lakh, you should say, I will get 20 lakh or even better than that. And that's the conviction that you should develop and say, I am going to get this 21 lakhs or 20 lakhs or whatever it is. They aim high. Never discuss saying that I will settle for 19 lakhs, I'll settle for 18 lakhs. No, I think it's important to aspiration. Aim high, because what is important is when you aim high, you can come down. Coming down is easy, but if you start with the bottom, going up is very, very tough. And that's why somebody has said it very beautifully. It's difficult to climb the hill rather than coming down the hill. So that's why you can aim very high and then come down a little bit. Still, you're happy with that. It's not about one area that I'm talking about. There are so many areas that you can talk about. It's about the payment, it's about the delivery, it's about the anything which is there. I think it's important to aspire very high. But be realistic with your aspiration points. Also, please remember, focus on the aspiration point during the discussion. I think it's not about the functionalities alone, but you need to talk about the aspiration of the other person also. It's important to see that. And the third thing, that's why the second secret that I would like to say is, any negotiation, start with a higher aspiration point, and settling for lower is indeed a good negotiation strategy. My only request is don't go the reverse. Don't set lower limits and then trying to achieve higher out of it. No, it's not going to happen on that. And the third thing to become a good negotiation is, you might have a great power, you might have a great aspiration, but if you don't know how to conduct that negotiation, that's where skill is important for you. There are a lot of skills which is there, but if you look at it, one of the skill that is about the research your opponent. Research your opponent before going to the negotiation table. Ask certain very, very valid questions. I'm going to give you some checklist for how to ask yourself a good questions on that, which will help you to prepare. And during the discussion itself, you should be able to ask a good question, which will help you to understand the other person, other position, other point of view. Everything which is there is going to be on questioning. And then I would also say, many people say listening is an okay skill, but I would say one skill that everybody who is in negotiation should be able to develop is the listening skill. There is a nice saying which says that to listen to what is not being said. And that's very, very valid. In negotiation, there are many things which people show up, which people throw through the body language. It's important to understand that negotiation skill there. Listening skill there. There are some expressions that the people do in negotiation where you can make out. If somebody is angry, somebody is frustrated, somebody is happy, you can make out. But there are some micro expressions which is there, which you can't move out, which you can't make out. But it's important to study the body language, and that's where it will help you to research your opponent on that. I would even say, begin in a positive way to build trust. I think all of us realize that the only way you can any business which is done, is by building trust. And the trust you will be able to build only when you build the rapport building skills. How do you open? How do you build a rapport? How do you understand the other person? How do you listen and understand what they are saying there? And the third thing is, as we also We all know that we address the problem and not the people. Many times we are unhappy when somebody says something to you. You might say, reject something what you say, but you might get angry on the people. And when you are angry on the people, you find the negotiation does not move forward. What is important is not to get angry on the people, but look at the problem that they have. And that's why problem solving skills. And many times during the negotiation, they make some comments to you. Don't take it personally, but understand what is the reason which they are saying, and that will help you to realize what the real problem is there. And then I would also say, please remember, ignore the initial offers. There are many times that the customer will do some initial offer just to test you, just to see how good you are prepared, just to put certain objections onto the table and see what you'll answer. It's important to understand what is the real reason which the customer is asking. And that's where the probing skill is there. And if you're prepared that the customer is going to going to ask these questions, it's important to handle that objection and get confidence in the initial stages. That's a skill. That's a probing skills. That is getting prepared on that. Now, always I say, seek win-win and focus on the value creation than the price discussion. We have all talked many times on this topic, that the price is only one part of the entire component, but what is the value that the customer is going to get with this purchase is something that you can focus on. And that's a skill. So there are 5, apart from these 5 skills that I talked about: research your opponent, begin in a positive way of building trust, addressing problem and not people, ignoring initial offer, seeking win-win. There are so many other skills like the assertive skills, questioning skill, listening skills, articulating skills, and handling the tough situation, conflicting situation, and managing your emotions. All these are skills which is important for you. That's why the third secret I want to tell you is that a skilled negotiator is more likely to win the negotiations compared to the negotiator who only focuses on the power and aspiration. So it's important to feel that power and aspiration and develop that skills. We talked about 3 things, that's about the power, aspiration, and the skill. But one important aspect that I want you to remember is that negotiation is a process. It has multiple stages in any of the negotiation. If you closely observe those negotiations where you've been successful and those negotiations where you've not been successful, I think you have followed up with some stages or some steps. And one step, which is the first fundamental preparation, fundamental step, is the preparation and planning step. Once you prepare very well, once you plan very well, you know exactly how this is going to happen. The planning involves many things. And the second one is defining of the ground rules. I think, how do you set the context? How do you start the agenda? How do you say what is going to be achieved in this session? What is going to be achieved in the next one? And once you set the ground rule, you're talking about a clarification and justification on that. There are certain things that the people express, certain things that they demand. It's important to clarify certain things. It's important to justify certain things. It's how do you clarify what they are saying by probing questions is important. And equally important is that you should be able to justify why you are saying something, why you don't want to give something. And that is what is articulating, which is very, very important on that. And then getting to the 4th stage, that's about the bargaining and problem solving. And then once you do the bargaining and problem, it is not how you give what is important. It is not what you give which is important. It is how you give which is important. and then coming to the closure and implementation of certain things there. That's why I always say there is a step, there is a process, and each step has got multiple activities, and there is a planning which has to happen. There is a definition, ground rules, clarification, justification has to happen on that. One aspect that I would like to cover is the importance of the planning and preparation. I say, if at all in negotiation, if you want to succeed, there is one thing which is very, very important. That before you think of the negotiation, it's important to plan and prepare. There is the 10-90 rule, which says that the 10% of the time that you plan and prepare will help you 90% of the time down the road. In other words, I would say in negotiation, 80% is planning and 20% is just about implementing what you planned. 90% of the people fail in negotiation due to the poor preparation, or even I would say 90% of the people don't prepare at all. And once again, I'm saying the very act of preparing will actually make you to think and plan, which unlocks your mental power. Creative energy is done and increases your confidence in handling negotiation. Whether it is a first negotiation or 50th negotiation, all that I say is planning before the negotiation is a must. What we are going to give you, as I promised, I'm going to give you a negotiation checklist. Once you download and implement in a few calls, you'll see a marked difference in the way which you do things. Now, as I said, what is that you can prepare? There is a one wonderful tool which we talk about, 5W and 1H. What is this 5W and 1H? It's about why, who, what, when, where, and how. Now, these are questions that you need to ask yourself. Why? Why you want to enter into negotiation? Why you don't want to enter into negotiation? What is it all about? What is that which is at the stake? If it is a small ticket size, would you like to negotiate and get into so much of effort and energy which is required? Or even if it is a small account, is a strategic account that you've been trying to get into that? Or is it going to give you long-term benefits when you do this negotiation now and get the deal done? There could be many things which is required. That's why I would say it's important to ask why you want to enter into negotiation. The second question that you need to ask is, who are we negotiating with? Who are these people? Is he a purchase manager? Is he a technical head? Is he a decision maker? Is he somebody whom you want to do? Whom do we want in our team? What is the team? See, look, when negotiation might happen with two people or it is with the multiple people, what is important for you is to recognize that the people have got different emotions. People have got different values. People want different things. But then it's important to understand who is on the other side of the table. What is that he values? What is that his emotions are there? What is the stake for him? And then who are the people? We can take our team and do that negotiation. I think one important word is what. What is the objectives that for this meeting that we have? What is the concessions that we should be able to include? What is that variables that we have? I'm sure you have all the variable. Every variable is a cost to us and a value to customer. It could be anything. It could be timelines. It could be money. It could be specification. It could be service aspect, whatever it is there. There are multiple variables. But the first one which I want you to decide is, what are the fixed variables that you don't want to negotiate? What are the variables that you would like to get into the range, saying that what is the good one, what is the best one which you can talk about? And then you can also talk about certain reserve components in the variables that you can give so that the customer feels that you're doing a lot of things. And then what is that you would not like to negotiate with them? It's important to set that kind of a preparation. What order should we set our concession? And what kind of assumptions that we are doing? Are we going to the negotiation table with a lot of assumption or the facts? If it is assumptions there, but how do you make it known towards fact? What kind of questions that you need to ask? Another important aspect is when to have this negotiation. What's the right time for negotiation? And what situation you don't want to negotiate? There are sometimes that you have a monopoly product, possibly, and then you don't want to negotiate with them. Where, which place? Is it at our place? Is it at their place? Or are we selecting some neutral place for the negotiation? That's what 5W is, what we talked about: why, who, what, when, where. And of course, you should ask how. How to negotiate in terms of the style. As I said, in negotiation style, there are various styles. It could be somebody who is a pusher who wants to get things done. It could be somebody who is a pleaser who wants to please to get things done, who has got a process-oriented guy, everything he checks in detail, and somebody who is a player. What's my style? What is their style? Is it a compatibility in the style? Can I make a minor adjustment? How high initial demands are there? What is the time frame that we are looking at it? And that's where you should be able to do these kind of questions on that. And that's why I say secret number 4 is give concessions regularly. But it is about the frequency of the concession that's important over the size of the concession. It is not about how much you give. It is about how you give, and what is the frequency that you are giving to them. It's not that everything that the customer asks you agree. There are certain things you should get. But one secret which I want you to tell is give whatever you want, but get something in return. The customer might say sometimes, I want the delivery in 15 days. You can ask him why. If he says my line is going to stop, then you can say, sir, we'll ensure that the 15 days delivery is done, but can we get some premium? Or can you take care of the shipment charges which is there if we send it by flight? Possible. And that's for the secret number 4. But then I always say any negotiation has got two things: win-win, that's a collaborative, or win-lose, it's a competitive. Now, when you have, of course, there is something called as lose-lose, lose-win and all that, which is not correct. But the idea is that the win-win is the best approach which is there. So what are the actions that you do? Want to signal clearly what your intentions are for win-win outcome. Seek confirmation from this, from the other side. What is that you can do? You can get into the negotiation and say a nice statement like this and say, thank you so much for the opportunity to be a part of this discussion. And my objective of this discussion is to understand what are the concerns that you have and what are the concerns that we have, and how we will be able to mutually come to conclusion on this. And at the end of the discussion, I want to see that you're also happy and we are also happy with that. You can set the context like that. You can also identify the problems initially rather than the solution. Yeah, I would only say one thing. In all the discussion, it is about identifying the problem is the most important. Then there are a lot of people in the organization or in the team who can give a solution of that. But ask why they want certain things. And then I would only say establish an atmosphere of the mutual trust and credibility. As I said, credibility earlier, sometimes the negotiator wanted to establish, they might say, well, can I speak to your boss? You can establish your credibility by saying every discussion, every situation in our company is discussed internally. And for this situation, my boss has authorized me to take up the discussion. Can we start with that? But if you want to establish your credibility and trust, I think it's the more you understand about your customer, the more you understand about the situation, the more you get into the whole situation in your hand. If you improve your knowledge skill, and that's where the credibility will come. Actions for win-lose negotiation make quite clear your absolute commitment to what you must have. You should be able to tell them at the beginning that I would be able to negotiate on certain things, but not on certain aspect. State what the consequences will be if you don't get it. I would even say try to prevent your opponents from specifying their commitments. That means you can tell them very clearly, sir, on certain aspect, I would not like to discuss on that. I don't even want to know what is your offer there. You can be tough with them if they do. Provide some form of face-saving exit for them, perhaps by offering a small concession. I'm sure when you become a tough, when they want to win and they want you to lose and you also want to win, and then there is some, definitely you will say that there is a conflicting situation and sometimes deadlock happens. But how do you save somebody from a deadlocking situation is important. You can offer a small concession, which makes him feel good. And that's why the secret number 5 game theory is that seek a win-win outcome whenever you can, so that both sides can obtain the greatest benefit. However, if the other side should attempt you to go for a competitive style, that means they want to win and you want to lose outcome, you should also revert to an aggressive, competitive win-lose approach on that. Great. Now, this is what about negotiation in general, but since there are a lot of salespeople who have joined in this discussion, would like to address 3 specific challenges specific to sales. But before I get into that, let's have a poll and see what is that one challenge that you have in sales. Can you put it on the chat box? What is that your people want to negotiate on? Oh yes, that's good. We see almost 100% of the people say it is the price is the biggest challenges. Yes, this is coming out basically because we have also identified our 3 challenges that our salespeople face. The first one is the increased competition. Earlier, the same company had a few competitors, 3, 4. Today they've got 10, they've got 20. It is crowded. For one customer, there are 5, 6 people who are trying to get the order from him. There is an increased competition. He has got the power now. And then all the sales discussions revolves around the price. I've come across a lot of people who say, don't tell me anything about what you offer, all that we'll find. Tell me what is the first price. If the price is matching, then we will discuss. It is not that they're going to give you that price, but further on that, they would like to negotiate. I think we are talking about a value, we are talking about cents, we are talking about many things, but all the discussion revolves around the price. And third thing is, all this is what is happening at the end of it is it has an effect on the margin, it has an effect on the profit. Earlier, if you would have done some amount, you would have got certain amount of profit. But if you do the same amount, your profits have come down, your margins have come down, because everybody is asking a discount. You're parting your profit to the others. And that's why it's affecting on the margins there. I want you to take 30 seconds and write down 3 areas that your buyers bargain with. That's what we did some time back, and you all shared about the price is one. And somebody says service, somebody says discount, somebody says delivery. Oh yes, I agree with you on that. Good. I'm going to give you some secrets to you, but then if that is the case, do negotiation skill help the company avoid losing the money? Absolutely. I will tell you how just by increasing 1% increase in the price realization, you will get 10% increase in the profits. I'll also tell you how you develop your team to communicate the value rather than lowering the price. Find out ways to offer the value. All we are talking is price is one part. It's the value that the people buy. But develop your team to communicate the value rather than lowering of the price. Third one is, it's not just that you offer one product, but you can always give him one. You can give him an option. You say, look, this is the good offer for you, which is going to cost about 5 lakh rupees. The better offer is going to be 7 lakh rupees with additional features. But the best option, I would say, looking into all long term, you put 7.5 lakh rupees, and this is the best one. There is no price discussion, but it's about the options that you give, which will help you to increase your offer. Bundle it, add value to people on this, and increase your profit. Give a service as an option. And the next one is, I would say, for all those sales leaders who are there, you have always given your targets on the revenue targets. And I'm sure just to achieve the revenue targets, many people would give the discount. But I would only say offer incentive based on the profit margin rather than on the revenue target. You see what the magic people will do. They'll get the best out of that when you put on a profit margins there. And then I told you I'm going to give you 1% increase is equal to what one must never do during the price discussion. One thing is very sure, don't give any discount to anybody. The reason for this is very simple. I'm going to give you one situation. Turnover of company is 100 crore and the average gross profit is about 10%, which is about 10 crore. Now tell me, with a better understanding of your customer, with a better understanding of your product market application, you will improve your skills on communication, listening, questioning, body language, all that negotiation skills with a better understanding of the process and the secrets of negotiation, with clear intention and a conscious practice to get the better price. All of you do very well. And just 1% better price you get. What's your turnover? It becomes 101 crore. And where this 1 crore will directly go, it directly goes into the gross profit on the, considering all the prices, all the cost is maintained the same. Therefore, what happens is you get 1%, you get 1% increase in the price, you get 10% increase in the profit. I agree, 1% is difficult to get 0.5%, which is 50 lakhs. Get 0.25% better price than what you have got earlier. You would get 25 lakhs. And that's what I would say, never give 1% better price is equal to them. Now, many times in your situation, you might come across with people saying that if I give you 1,000 units, how much you will give in order? You get tempted. If I give you 2,000 units, how much I can give your order? Oh yes, you might get tempted. Somebody will say, don't worry, this time it's going to be very good. All market is boom. You get 5,000 units. How much you are going to reduce? I'm sure most of you would have definitely done this. You would have reduced the 10% price on this, right? But I only want you to ask yourself one question. If you have reduced the 10%, that means you have reduced 10% in your profits. To get the same profit, how much more you have to sell? Make the business sense and use this formula. Price cut into 100, price cut into 100 divided by gross profit margin by price cut. Let's say price cut is about 20%. Into 100 is equal to 2,000 you have done. And then GPM was about 30%. You gave a 20% price cut, which is into 10. That means you have to give 200% extra volume to get that need. But in the other hand, if you increase the price by 10%, it is the same thing that you do. You need to get a little more, a little less to get that. Today, market is tough, business is tough. But then why do you want to give a discount on that? And the effect on the price, the effect on the profits. So that's the ability of the salesperson to provide value and see how he can put the price. Price is just one part of the offer. There are so many things that you can give and negotiate on that. A lot of tactics which is used by the buyers and sellers. I'm sure there are plenty of tactics, but one tactic that which people do is a boogie ply. In that, I would say Krantz ploy. What is the tactic? They show something which is as genuine as you feel, but actually it is not so. I'm giving you an example. You go to the customer and customer say, "Hey, Suresh, it was very, very nice meeting you. I saw your proposal. It's a wonderful proposal. Lovely proposal. I'm sure those who prepared in your team should be awarded for what a wonderful proposal that they have done. Everything what you quoted is exactly beyond our expectation. It meets our expectation. And what you have quoted a price is also 20 lakh rupees is very fair enough." But see, my dear friend, what has happened is because of the corona, okay, business is bad, but what we have got is also very bad. So we want to make this decision. We want to go ahead. And I have a budget of 16 lakh. What I'll do is I'll write a check right now for 16 lakhs and let's close this. Now, see, this is a wonderful tactic by the other person, and you fall into that ploy. Then you might say, "Sir, I will discuss with my boss and come back to you on this." And then you've reduced to 4 lakh rupees or something. But my only request is if that situation comes, next time I want you to do something. So 16 lakhs you want to give, please give that 16 lakh. We will accept happily. But the balance 4 lakh rupees, I want you to give it to me after about 3 months. Okay, do one thing. So 3 months, later 3 months, you give 2 lakh rupees, and after 6 months, you give 2 lakh rupees. But I would be able to give you consideration on that, but not on the price. All right. And the second one, what I want you to do is this is a wonderful trick everybody has used and we have all fallen into play. What you can do, what is that you can do? They'll say, okay, if I give you 1,000, what do you do? If you give 2,000, how much you'll give? If you give 5,000, how much you'll give? My only request to you is next time if somebody offers like that, you can say, "Sir, you give us the 5,000 PO. When we deliver the last unit of the 5,000 units, then we will see that we adjust the discount of whatever we are promising in the last bill, but not in the first bill from regular one of this. Whatever you promise, if we say 10% we are going to give, that 10% will be given only when the 5,000 unit is invoiced. But we'll settle by giving a credit note. This is what is our promise to you. Because many times our experience says that they have all given you, they've all promised you for big things, but ultimately they'll give you 1 unit, 2 unit order. Don't get into that kind of a thing. And likewise, we have decided about 15 to 20 tactics that we have seen by the purchaser and how do actually handle these tactics, recognize this tactic as a tactic, and it no longer becomes a tactic, and you can actually win over the conversations of this. Well, let's recap the 3 reasons that to learn negotiation. There are always opportunities for the negotiation. Professionals with the negotiation skills are more successful. First offer is never the best offer, and negotiate to get the best deal whenever it is there. Okay, good. And we also talked about the 5 step of negotiation process. First one is developing a power is key to negotiation success. Preparation is key to negotiation success. It's all about preparation. You'll download the preparation checklist there and focus on the problem and over the people. Don't consider anybody as bad and people. People are good, but the actions are different. Understand why the problem is coming from the people. and focus on value over the price to create a win-win negotiation. We'll definitely discuss about a cost versus value matrix, and let's see how to provide value to the customer. I always say be ready to win-lose if the other party is not ready for a win-win. And that's the idea that you should be able to have on this negotiation. Why? Well, I would definitely say one statement which John F. Kennedy said long time back. Let's never negotiate out of fear, but let's never fear to negotiate. Develop that skill, develop that power, develop that ability within you so that you never fear to negotiate with anyone wherever you go. And that's what I would say. Let's never negotiate out of fear, but let's never fear to negotiate on that. That's what the John F. Kennedy said. What is that one thing that you're going to do now that you listen to this session? What is that one thing that you're going to do to become a good negotiator? Share in the chat. Okay, wonderful. Somebody said preparation. I see one now. Okay, that's about again a preparation and a planning and recognize the tactic. Good, very good, good. Go ahead. Wonderful. Yeah. Okay, good. So this is the end of the content, but let me ask you one question. Do we really want to become a good negotiator and win more deals and build better relationship? If so, type yes in the chat. Oh, very good. Wonderful. So thank you so much for attending this meeting. Okay. You can click on the button to download the content that you require. Okay. Right. We'll keep in touch with you and ensure that this is done very clearly. Thank you so much.